Hey, I'm PH and welcome to Good Bible Knowledge with PhD. In this set of videos, I want to study the words and works of Jesus to give a clear understanding and a deeper appreciation of the love of God expressed through this most important figure in human history. And I hope these videos will help you in your own spiritual journey in Jesus. Let's get started. In the early days of Jesus' ministry, people from all over Israel came to meet Jesus. They had heard of his miracles and his teaching that the kingdom of God is near. Christ said only the righteous could enter the kingdom of God. And the main question on the hearts of the people was what kind of righteousness was necessary for entrance into Messiah's kingdom. The prevalent religious view was that of the Pharisees, who promoted a righteousness steeped in human tradition and legalism. Jesus deconstructed this false teaching through his famous Sermon on the Mount found in Matthew chapters 5 through 7. In this extensive discourse, Christ preached a righteousness that could not be earned by human effort, but could only be received as a gift from God through faith. Jesus' Sermon on the Mount can be divided into 3 sections. In the first section, Jesus speaks of the characteristics of a righteous person, starting with what is commonly known as the Beatitudes, a series of terse, memorable statements. How blessed, how happy is the person who honors God. It is not the powerful who will inherit the earth, but the meek. It was not the self-righteous that God honors, but the contrite. In the next section, chapters 5 verse 17 through chapter 7 verse 6, Jesus answered the question, is the so-called righteousness of the Pharisees enough to enter the kingdom of God? The Pharisees had codified religious duty into over 300 prohibitions, 250 commands, and thousands of rules that they had added to the scriptures. And they imposed these regulations like a burdensome yoke upon the shoulders of the people. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus unequivocally proclaimed that the righteousness of the Pharisees was insufficient. He said, "For I tell you, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of God." Jesus taught that God doesn't simply look at outward actions. He looks at the heart. Jesus taught that hatred and lust were just as grievous as murder and adultery. He taught that we should love our enemies as well as our friends. This type of righteousness could not be done through human strength. Rather, it required a humble heart and faith in the Lord. In the final section of the sermon, chapter 7, verse 7 through 27, he spoke to those who were willing to confess their sin and seek God by faith, and he gave instructions regarding kingdom living. He concluded his sermon with an illustration of 2 builders, one who built his house on the sand, and another who built his house on the rock. When the rain fell and the floods came, the one whose house was built on the sand collapsed. And Jesus concluded, "But everyone who hears my words and puts them into practice, they are like the one who builds their house on the rock." These words stand to this day. Anyone who is seeking to attain heaven through good deeds and self-righteousness is like the one who builds his house on the sand. When Jesus returns, they will find that all of their efforts were for naught. In contrast to all who heed the call of Jesus, humble themselves, and turn to God through faith in the death and resurrection of Jesus, these are the ones who have built their future on the rock, and they will not be disappointed. Thanks for listening to another episode of Good Bible Knowledge. We'll see you next time.